So the doors are closed. Welcome everyone to the National Museum and this conversation with Alice Rawsthorn and Hella Jongerius. We're very happy to see all of you here. This is the first of a series of conversations where Alice Rawsthorn will visit the National Museum to talk to some of the world's most famous designers about how design can contribute to positive social development and how designers work to find solutions to complex problems. And we're launching this series because we feel that we need a platform where we can meet and discuss and engage with the most important questions and challenges facing the design world today. And ultimately, how can design contribute to the development of society? Alice is an award-winning design critic and author. Her books include Design as an Attitude, Hello World, Where Design Meets Life, and Design Emergency, Building a Better Future, which she co-wrote with Paola Antonelli, the Senior Curator of Design at MoMA in New York. And for over a decade, Alice's weekly design column for the New York Times was syndicated worldwide. She's also a co-founder with Paola Antonelli of the Design Emergency podcast, YouTube channel, and research platform, where they investigate design's role in forging a fairer future. And the first guest in this series of talks is Dutch designer Hella Jongerius, who's been interested in how mechanical processes can be made more human and ecologically sustainable, and who's been challenging the boundaries between craft and industry for decades. And she opens a big retrospective exhibition at the Vitra Design Museum in Germany next week, and we're very happy that she is here tonight. So welcome, Alice and Hella.
Thank you very much, Patrick. So for the avoidance of doubt, I'm Alice, this is Hella. And I'm thrilled to join you here at the National Museum for the first in these series of conversations with some of the most interesting and important designers of our time, beginning with Hella. And as Patrick has said, we're incredibly lucky that she has been able to come to Stockholm for this event, as she's even more than usually busy in the run-up to the opening of Whispering Things, her exhibition at the Vitra Design Museum that opens next Friday. So thank you so much, Hella, for making the time. She is, of course, one of our most dynamic and influential designers, one of the very few women to have ever achieved that status, and one of the even fewer openly queer women to do so. Hella has had a hugely successful and productive career in the 30 years since she graduated from Design Academy Eindhoven in the Netherlands. Through her studio Jongerius Lab, based first in Rotterdam, then Berlin, and now in Arnhem, Hella has combined personal experiments in design and making with working on an industrial scale for multinationals like IKEA, KLM, Maharam, and Vitra. From the beginning, she's devised new ways of imbuing objects with meaning, often by embedding the subtleties, idiosyncrasies, and imperfections that we traditionally associate with hand craftsmanship in mass-manufactured objects. But another of Hella's strength is having the courage to continually redefine her design practice by stopping some aspects of her work in order to focus on new challenges, notably on design's role in addressing the climate emergency. So we'll discuss these and other issues in our conversation, and you'll then have the chance to ask questions to Hella of your own. So Hella, beginning at the beginning, why did you choose to study design, and how did you envisage your career as a designer evolving at that time?
Thank you for all the words. It's very nice. And welcome, everybody. The beginning. Yeah, it was not easy to find my way and to know what would be a profession that would fit me. So it took me a long journey, and on a certain moment I started to work or to learn to be a carpenter. And on that, and I also was a creative therapist, ergotherapy. And I really didn't know, because this carpentry was much too technical, and I was, not precise enough. And I had a lot of friends that went to art schools, and I thought, I like it. I know I'm creative, but I needed more boundaries. So that's why I have chosen to do design. And when I applied to the school, I in a way, I didn't know what the profession was about. It was really a long shot, but it worked out fine. I think it was my place, and it still is. The profession still fits me very much. So it has this practical, it has boundaries, it has the creativity, it has a goal. You have to come with solutions. It is related to the market. It's a bigger game than being an artist, in my view. So it fits.
It certainly does fit, but it also really was a long shot, because your early work in the 1990s was radically different to the design orthodoxy of the time. I mean, then the dominant approaches to design were inspired either by Philippe Starck's postmodernist flamboyance or the rationalism of designers like Jasper Morrison and Konstantin Gierchich. And by contrast, your B-set plates and bowls, for example, the big white pot and red-white vase, look raw, unfinished, unstable, and imperfect. Where did that come from?
I think the interest in craft, in the making. So I was raised in the 70s. So as girls, we knitted, macrame, all this kind of things. So making and being creative and having this carpentry background, craft and materials was of my interest. And so the traces of the making and designing within this material was something that interested me, intuitive. So, and I also looked in the cupboards of my friends, and I never saw this perfect design objects. I always saw a kind of mismatch of stuff, so there's more this, a more human relation to products or to objects, and I think that's where the interest came from making my hands dirty, make the things and think with the hands and show the traces, show it in the production, and even, the overarching theme is to build a relation between a person and an object, so that you can relate yourself to an object if you see how it is made, if there is a person behind it, and at best that this is produced in industry, which is difficult. So it's not the crafty look, produced within in higher volumes, to reach also a good price, that it's not this high level only for a high level market. So this puzzle interested me from the start, and it was another sound than what was happening at that time. But I was in this Droog Design, a Dutch group of people, design institute. So I was not alone, but it came from me. Yeah, it was my interest from the start. Yeah.
And that was a very exciting and productive period for Dutch design, and a lot of really interesting work came out of Droog design, but it was typically limited editions of work, and relatively quickly you were commissioned to work on a much, much bigger and more ambitious scale. And I think this is where your practice became quite exceptional on industrial design projects. So if you think of the Polder sofa for Vitra, which was launched in 2005, the aircraft cabins for the Dutch airline KLM, now you were working on a completely different scale and with wholly different financial expectations from your clients. What were the principal challenges of making that leap, and what did you find most intriguing and rewarding about it?
Let's start with the last one. So what I really like is that you can change something larger because you reach a bigger audience if you work for industry. And I like the complexity of working with industry. It's a more complex puzzle, so you have to meet the client's question. You have to think in production. You have to think about pricing, and but it has to. My own agenda. To keep that alive within all these restrictions, that's an interesting dance that I really like to do. And also, you need your social skills, and yeah, that's something that is really what I really like. And then the challenging topics, yeah, you know. KLM and Vitra are two different animals. KLM is a corporate company. They have very strict requests, and the path, your creative path, is very, very narrow. What most difficult was to talk in that language. So to talk as to a corporate client, it's really another language. That was most difficult for me. But there were two also. It was also there were two new. There was a new marketing director, and there was a new person for in-flight, and they were all very ambitious, and they want to do something to push an envelope. So I was happy that I had my two people within this large company who also wanted to change something from within. And the sustainability agenda was also high, although it is of course an aviation, so how sustainable can you be? But they have this agenda. So that's why I could do this cradle-to-cradle carpet with him. But that was a push. So but it was a very interesting journey with KLM. And then for Vitra, yeah, it's a cultural company, and the people that sit on the other side of the table know the field, know the market, know are in the same interest and moral compass. So it's much easier for me. And of course, the challenge is then that my ideas are often hate or love products. People love it or hate it, so it's never for a huge market. Polder was a huge success, was the first thing I did for them. And it's also a matter of timing, because when they asked me, it was the first time they opened the home collection. So it was always an office, a company that only worked for office furniture. And at that moment, they wanted to open a home collection. So I was the first to enter that. So it was also new for them. I was new. And that also makes makes a project, then a project can fly, and I think that's what happened in this case.
So it was the right sofa at the right time. In other words, you're a
Right.
marketeer after all. So another major project for you has been really as a sort of corporate researcher and strategist. First into Vitra's use of colour and textiles, and this began in 2006 and lasted for over a decade. Now, it was an ambitious and complex endeavour which represented a significant change in your role within Vitra by empowering you to effectively design new corporate strategies as well as new products in the conventional way. So how did you address this? And particularly with respect to colour, why had it been overlooked and underplayed? I mean, not just at Vitra, but in so many other manufacturers at that time.
I think it's a few reasons. So it was an office company where they do sell office furniture. So color is less important. And then they work with classic or with designers that are no longer with us. So the colors are protected. And that means that there were like 50 different reds and 30 different greens because each designer had his own color. So there was no coherent color idea for the company. And that's something that I addressed, and not from the start. You know, I started with something very small. The question was, can you do a light Eames chair, the lounge chair? Because Eames did it once in white, and but we never came with the right leather and the right wood. So could you look at it, and then could you look at Eames office chairs, and I told Rolf Velbaum, the owner, I'm not a stylist, I'm not a color stylist. I can only do it if I really can dive into color and understand it, and what does it do with light, and how is it when it is a corner, when it is horizontal or vertical. Really dive into this matter, and there was never the question, can you make a color world for us? You know, that really came during the work that I developed this library, color library, with 4 color worlds: the red, the greens, the lights and the blacks, the darks. And within these color worlds, each designer had his own signal color or signature color. But it was one library. It is one library. So Jasper has, for instance, his ice blue, and Prouvé has the Corbusier palette, and Eames has more machinery, or more 50s, more the color of the material itself, so more modernist, although it's 50 out of the 50s. But so Borolic's more moody colors with orange. So each of them had his own world, but within this one library. So yeah, and it's a system that is now still relevant, and they work with it. So it's now a working system for the company.
Diplomatically, was it tricky? Because as you said, a lot of the designers, Jean Prouvé, Charles-Henri Eames, obviously sadly died many years ago, but you were also dealing with living designers who presumably had very strong ideas of their own about colour. So how did you navigate that?
It was not a big problem. So they trusted me, and I could also explain, and I also interviewed them, and we talked about what is very important for you, and how can we, you know, how can I work on your space? What is your world, color world? And we really had interesting conversations. So it was not like I tell you what your color world is. So it was really interesting conversations, and I think in the end everybody was very happy also to have your own color, because it's also often copied, and it isn't. It gives an identity to a piece of furniture or to an object. So it also protected them in their own signature or in their own identity. So it was not a big problem. No, it was not a big problem.
And during this period, you were becoming increasingly interested in the ethical and environmental role of design. And in 2015, you and the Dutch art and design theorist, a great friend of yours, Louise Schouwenberg, launched a manifesto during Milan Design Week called Beyond the New, a search for ideals in design. What impact did this have? And as the environmental debate has changed subsequently, if you were launching a manifesto like that again now, would you do it differently?
It had a huge impact. So it was everybody. It was really also time-wise a very good moment. So it was really picked up very well. The companies that I was working with, they were like, "Oh my God, now she's opening a box." But the designers, they were all like, "Yes, yes, somebody's, this is what we feel, this is what we need." And it was for myself also a wake-up call, because on that particular moment I was still working for industry, and it was really also. Took me a few years, but it was also a mirror for myself. Like, what am I doing? Am I still walking on a path that really, where I really can push an envelope, or do I know the world now so well, the industrial world, that I just deliver, although, with a small contribution to a push, but so it was for me the beginning of the end. Stop to work for industry. So it was for me also an important manifesto. And if I would do the manifesto right now, it's always difficult because the time is totally different. But I would say it would be more. I would talk more to politicians, because the manifesto talked to designers and company in 2015, and I think now it's more the time to talk to consumers and to politicians. So to change laws, I think we need that if we really want to have radical changes that are needed, and the consumers really could, from bottom up, could change something in the world of design and products and materials, choice of materials, and so I would address it more in that way.
So if we look at the role of environmentalism in design now, are you confident that designers are being given the backing they need by large-scale manufacturers to make the meaningful progress at scale that is the only sensible strategy to crack the
I
process?
think it's very, very difficult for a designer to change something radically, because there are bigger forces needed. The problems are so big.
Do those bigger forces believe in design as a solution?
Sorry?
Do those bigger forces, are they confident that design is a valid solution?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I find it very difficult to. I find it very difficult. What a designer. Of course, we could think of new systems and new economies and or other ways of looking at an economy. Building communities, really dive into the materials, design the materials and not the product. The product is just a thing. we have to design the materials totally from scratch, thinking in which countries are we delving and are we using the earth, and we have to have alternative for all our materials. So it is a huge problem. It's huge, and geopolitical. A material never travels alone. It has all these political layers. And then if you have an alternative, because there are designers who are really thinking in new materials, if you have a solution, then a company needs to pick it up. And then the consumer needs to pick it up. Because it will not be so glossy and so nice as we all want it. It will not, the new materials will not be as soft as we want it or as we know it. It will not be so colorful. So are we ready for this material change? It's our many steps. It's not only the designer.
So if we move to another part of your practice, which is experimentation, and this has been very important to you since the start, but it led to large-scale experiments like your live 3D weaving workshops in Paris and the angry animals, ceramic creatures that you exhibited in New York recently. What role do they play in your practice?
I think it is my post-industrial work. So I started with this color topic that I really had as a huge topic for years. So with Vitra, I had it under my wings as a assignment, but also as an intellectual researcher, cultural researcher. And after that, 3D weaving was an interesting topic for me. What could be a future for weaving if we start to think of another thread than only the weft and the warp? So if we have a diagonal third thread, what could that bring? So it is a very light construction. We could think of replacing other materials that are more poison. Or more, not sustainable. So that's why I'm interested in 3D weaving, and I do it since, since 17 or 18, so 10 years or so. And I'm still continuing because I really see a future there. And without having a company makes me freer, so I can dive deeper. I have the opportunity that museums ask me for certain project, and then I tell them I'm interested in 3D weaving. Give me a year, and I come with new ways or new thoughts or new thinking with my hands, and with a large team, with other hands too. And the angry animals, so that's the 3D weaving. That's a topic that is really about this diving in an old craft, finding new ways. And then this is also something I do with many people. And the animals, I do that alone. So I'm so happy to do that. So it gives me so much pleasure to be alone again with clay. And so when I did the show for Gropiusbau in Berlin, so when the director came, she asked me, what are you interested in? I said, well, I'm 3D weaving. I would like to weave a flying car. That was something that I was interested in at that time. And I said, yeah, why not? Let's hit it. And then COVID hits in, and I thought, what to do with a flying car when COVID is here, So I turned it all, I wanted to the time resonates in the work that I'm doing. So I built this show around woven cosmos, and I started to make animals, and I have animals in my oeuvre for a long time. I made for a long time props, a frog at the table, but they were all very happy. And the ones that I did for Woven Cosmos, they turned out to be very angry. So they were really angry. And I thought, it's an emotion that I think it's in the air. It's offenders and victims. We're all angry, and also what's now happening in the world. So it is an emotion that's in the air, and I also wanted to give a voice to the animals, to the voiceless, and they all have women's name, because I think we women, we also have a setback, so it became a whole project, and now I'm doing angry shark fountain for the Vitra Design Museum. There will be a pond, and there will be making now sharks, ceramic sharks, 2 meters high, that will bring a lot of anger, but also fun, because they're also all quite funny, I must say.
Well, we all have a funny shark. So let's talk about the Vitra Design Museum exhibition, because it's going to be a very ambitious exhibition, but it also coincides with a turning point in your career. You've transferred your archive to the Vitra Design Museum, and as you've said, you've withdrawn from industrial design and handed over some projects to your collaborators, such as textiles from Harum to Edith van Berkel. Why did you decide to do this, and what does your practice now consist of?
So I stopped working for industry because what I just said, like I knew how the wheel turns, and I really like to be a beginner. I think this is where my quality or my talent flourish, when I'm a beginner. Because I'm still curious, I'm very quickly bored. So I'm still curious, I'm naive about the topic, and can think out of the box. And so I'm always interested in this position, being a beginner. And the people that work for me, I really take care of them. So when I left working for industry, I gave the different clients to the people that have been working with me for a long time. So, and I think that's how you I find it important that you take care of each other.
Well, it's a very elegant way of handling it. If we talk specifically about the exhibition, has the experience of working on it, preparing for it, changed your thinking in any way, whether it's in terms of individual examples of your work or your overall evolution as a designer?
This particular...
yes.
No, I don't.
You can say no.
No, you could say no. I would say no.
Okay, so if we talk generally about your practice, because there are a number of designers and students here, so I'd like to move on to some exploratory questions. I mean, one thing I've always been hugely impressed by is your ability to stop doing a seemingly hugely successful strand of work at the height of its success and start again from scratch. It's obviously that makes your work so dynamic and compelling. But where does that come from? Is it something that you approach strategically, or is it completely intuitive?
Oh, it's intuitive. I like to push an envelope in a new field, and what I said, I'm just quickly bored if I think, oh my God, again, the same thing. And of course, I have been working for a few companies, 30 years, 20 years, for Vitra 20 years, Harum 30 years. So this is not the boredom, but it's also because I push myself each time, also within these parameters, to come with something that really excites me myself. You know, I'm not just watching the shop run or so. You know, I like to be a beginner. That's my main position. This is the position that I like. Yeah.
And an unusual strand of your practice, which has actually, like many aspects of your work, become increasingly mainstream within design, but was unusual when you began, is that from the start you've worked very closely with Louise Schouwenberg on the presentation and description of your work and its objectives. So why did you decide that it was so important to control the interpretation of your work, and how did you and Louise go about it?
Well, if you say like control it, finds a bit of negative, feels a bit negative. Because I really, so when I started, I just made and have my intuition, and I just started to think in this imperfection and misfits, and I really needed somebody who gave me feedback and wording and context, and so I started this conversation with her. So she's an art philosopher, critical, and so she really learned me how to look and how to analyze my own work, and also give me words. So this conversation really is very helpful to know where you stand and what you're doing, and show you the bigger context, so that you're not working isolated only on products, but that it is this whole context that is relevant, and also what is happening in the other professions, like architecture, art, fashion, but also sociology or philosophy. Yeah, it really shaped me, and I learned so much from her. She was really my midwife for design ideas or design context, and till today. And she also learned me how to write, and I find it also because there is not so much of an intellectual discourse around design. You are a writer, but there are not so many that have a really high level. It's always about style, so it's quite. I don't find it that much of an interest, or interesting. So to come to a more intellectual level, that helped me a lot. In my to understand my profession, and also to question my profession. I think that's also something that I did during my journey. Yeah.
Well, she is a wonderful writer and thinker, and for me as an observer, it's been wonderful to see your relationship evolve. Now, to move on to another subject, which you generally complain when I raise, and this is gender, because of course design has been a male-dominated, largely misogynistic field for a very, very long time, and you're among the first women to have established an international reputation, particularly in industrial design at scale. How conscious have you been of this, and do you believe that there's been a sustainable shift in design's gender politics recently, and is there a lasting possibility of gender equality?
Oh. So, yeah. So I'm a feminist, and this is of course a super important topic, and it's not. It's like it is in every profession. It's the same as in design. So in that sense, I'm not so conscious about it, because it's everywhere. that there are less women in the top of their profession. So for me, it was not a huge issue. It was not a big issue, and I was not that much aware. It's maybe also, I was raised between 3 brothers, so I was the only woman. So it was for me a natural surrounding to be the only woman. So it was not that, was not so, not an important topic for me. And of course you want to have more equality. Yeah, who can be against it? So that's a bit...
Do you think there has been a substantial shift in that direction, and not just for gender, but also in terms of ethnicity, geography, faiths?
No, to be honest.
Oh, okay. So when you look back on your career in design, who were the people who helped you to shape it, and what were the things that shaped it too?
I think... let's start with the 3 brothers, because that was the beginning. So knowing the male world, that is an important topic that I learned, or an important element that I took with me, or a quality that I have, or some easy social, I don't know, it's easy for me. And then there are a few people that I met on the right time. So timing is important. So I met Paola Antonelli when she started as a curator in MoMA, and I started my career. And I met you very early in my career, and you're both, from the start till now, this huge social and political forces in design, really reframing our profession, and we grew up with each other, and that's very helpful that you have a group of that are looking in the same direction and push and move and innovate. So that was very helpful, that you gave me my first show in London in the Design Museum and on an international podium, and I was just starting, so it was really, really important. And then the people that gave me the first assignments, Michael Maharam, the owner of Maharam in New York, upholstery company for textiles. I didn't know anything about weaving in a factory, so it was also for him, a wild card. I was a wild horse. But he believed in me, and he had an ambition, and so that was an important one. And Rolf Velbaum, the owner of Vitra, I met him when he was in his 60s, so he was more relaxed, and he wanted to have this home collection. So that was also the right timing to work with somebody who has a lot of knowledge and is open for a change and is not afraid anymore because he already built his company. That was also important. And of course, all the people that have been working with me, all the hands, all the team members, and people that stayed for so long with me, 20, 30 years. And each time new, younger people coming in, and we teach them. And so it's a real tribe, it's a community. And I find loyalty so important. It's such a important tool or method if you work together, that you stay for a long time together. This makes you can move so much faster, and you can dive so much deeper if you stay long with each other. And that's also why I stayed so long with the different companies. Only a few companies, but we could really dive deeper, and they stayed as friends. And of course I have, and the other people that care for me, like my family, my so I have of course also a group of good friends that care for me. So that's also helpful. But I think that's the surrounding that is needed.
And then as a final question, what advice would you give to young designers who are starting their careers now?
Yeah, I think so. The problems are easy. That was in my time. There were not so many problems. So, of course, the problem was, can you make a new chair? That's not a problem. But now we really have major problems. So that's not that's an easy one. So you know where the problems are. What is difficult is that the problems are so big that where to start. So you have to find the right question for yourself within this huge mountain of changes that are needed. So what is the right question for you? That's important. Where is your fire? And what could be your question to answer? And then I think it would be good if you study also another profession next to design. So not only design, but I don't know, politics or economics or sociology, or I think you need another profession, or read other books than design books. And design in the fringes, disrupt the system that we are living in. We need new systems and new ways of working together. So that would be. It's not a very focused advice, but I would say that would be my advice for younger people.
So if that doesn't terrify them and scare them off,
Sorry.
it can only be productive.
Sorry.
So Hella, thank you so much, because you've answered the questions so generously and openly. And there's now an opportunity for all of you to ask Hella questions. Silla is going to manage that process with the microphone. So could you raise your hands if you do have a question for Hella?
I put on my glasses.
Please introduce yourself. Hello, my name is Anne. I wanted to hear a little more about your studio. Oh, how many people are involved in your daily work in your studio?
It depends a bit on which project I'm working on. I have 3 assistants that are on the pay list. And now I have, I think, 12 people that are coming in and out. And we are now weaving big, huge objects. So we are with 12 or 15 people. And I also have in the studio built houses where people can sleep and stay over the weekend and whatever, because I think if I want to work with an international group of people, I have to also provide them a home. And I also believe in creating this community larger than just work, and that we talk about also other topics. Yeah. Yep.
Hi, my name is Suzanne, and I have this fairly new, rather particular interest in how AI is developed into the product design educations and used there. And I wonder, well, both what is your take on AI within the modern design world and production, and especially, do you discuss those things within the international kind of design collective? Thanks.
I'm not so much in the design international. Of course, I'm working in this field, but my colleagues, I don't meet them often. So I find that a very difficult topic. What I see as an opportunity for AI to inform consumers about products. So how to repair, what is quality, what could be an alternative, what is the footprint of, all those questions you can ask AI. So I see it for myself, and I see it. I see this as the big advantage for AI right now, and of course text and whatever. But yeah. Also, because there is so much marketing bullshit information that we get from companies. You know, the information is just not honest around products. And there you could although it's also, you know, you could say, how honest is the AI? Because it's also coming from different sources. But I think it has, it provides information that we didn't have before.
My name is Jack Gustafsson. You said before, in the middle of this conversation, that the future of color was disappearing. It sounded slightly dystopic. Materials are being circular, and is that going to be replaced by shape, form, or what is the future?
Future of color?
Future of design? Is it material? Is it visual? Is it textual?
I think it is all about designing new materials. That's the future of design, and that's the future that we need for the profession. I don't know what the question is. Like, what was the question? Yeah, but color is not disappearing. But color will change, because all our bright colors are very toxic. So if we want to have less water, less microplastics in our textiles, so the colors will be duller. We will not have neon or very bright colors. And also for textiles, all the finishing, what makes things soft, is toxic. So if we want an alternative world, we have to, as consumers, let go some comfort in our materials. And it's not easy to let this go. Because it's also the quality, it's also beauty, what you let go. So it's not easy.
Are there any more questions? Maybe I could ask you something as well.
Of course.
So I'm Silla, and I work here. And I just want to say it's so very interesting that you are emphasizing the design of materials instead of designing products. But I think you have also opened doors as a role model on how to use color in different ways and the quality of that. So even though, as you say, we might not be able to have the same kind of feeling in different materials or the glossiness or whatever, what you did in the exhibition Rethinking Color that you exhibited here at the National Museum some years ago, I think was very, it was a brilliant way of arguing and discussing color and the quality of color due to different kinds of pigments and such things. So maybe in the future, just to be a little bit more positive, a new way of using colors or getting our eyes used to new kinds of beauty might also be a way. What do you think?
Yes, the color world is quite, the industrial color world is quite flat. So it's very economically, very safe. So the color has to be stable during the day. So metamerism is the effect that a color changes by the light, and that's something that is in the industry, is something that they want to have a standardized color that stays stable during the day. So I'm very much interested in colors that change in the morning light or in the evening light or in artificial light, but this means also that the industry need to use other pigments, like how the pigments are used in the art world, but that's again an economic issue, because the price will go up, and are people willing? I cannot make the news better. Industry, it's also always a balancing act between quality and the commercial, the price. So, so maybe if we have other smaller economic systems instead of this one capitalistic way of looking at how we work right now. So it's not easy. It's not easy. I cannot make it sound better.
Don't you think that one factor will be the change in attitudes, that we can, because we are now more knowledgeable about colour and other aspects of design and their environmental impact, if we know it's negative, how can what we once saw as a rich, deep, beautiful, vibrant colour seem gorgeous to us anymore? I mean, that sort of moral judgment surely is becoming more and more powerful.
Yeah, for a small group of people.
I think
Sorry.
You're right, but I think an increasingly less small group of people, if that makes sense.
Last question, so please.
Oh, okay, my name is Yvonne, and I just have a question. I'm not sure how to formulate the question really, but you said not to just become a designer, you have to study something else. Is that to become a stronger designer, or because there won't be a field for designs? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think there is still, you can still be a one-trick pony designer.
Yeah.
Concentrate on an isolated object. But I think if you really want to change something and what is necessary for the world, for the earth, then you need another profession.
So that is really to really be able to emphasize in textiles or wood or whatever that you're going to use to actually do the product much better.
To look to work with a larger context.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Hella, thank you so much. And if you want to informally ask Hella questions after this, dive up and do it. And a huge thank you to Patrick and Silla for inviting us to come and speak here. It's been, for me, a fascinating conversation. And just thank you so much, Hella, for being so generous about your work. Thank you.
Thank you.
And as Scilla explained, this is the first of these conversations. So the next one will be next month in April, and that will be Gabrielle Fontana, a young French designer who is redesigning sports to make them more diverse, inclusive, and meaningful. Then Ilse Crawford, a huge fan of Nordic design, particularly Swedish design, and the brilliant interior designer will be here in May. So I hope to see you again then, and thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.